speaks. It's time for me to step out. Okay.
Well, he's leaving and I'm
I
staying,
have to
huh?
leave. So Lou is going to take over so that I can get over. Our executive producer's about to yank me. So again,
got the hook out.
thank you so much for being
Get
with
the
us.
hook out.
You're in
Drag
good
him out.
hands now.
Either that or they're going to do
Look,
the
let me move around
the
this
trap
way.
door. Oh, the trap door is going to come in and we're going to let you go right through the hole.
All right, and then we have a wire right behind you. There you
Okay. Let me take my
go.
mic
Thank you,
off.
Antoine.
Well, let's keep going. As Antoine is leaving us, let's keep talking about what we've been talking about, Hulk Hogan. Let's talk about also, really importantly, the legend. I love the word legend. That's a great word. And it's overused in so many ways. Very few guys are really legends. You talk about sports, okay? All right, let's talk legends. You know, in baseball, we talk about the legend of Willie Mays and Babe Ruth and the legend of Joe Namath and the legend of Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky in hockey. These are legendary figures in sports. They're bigger than life. Well, in wrestling, this guy was actually a legend. You know, you're not really off base on that. This guy was bigger than life. And a lot had to do with his personality. And that's what it was. And wrestlers, like football players, they transition into movies, they transition into TV shows. And Hulk would always pop up playing himself or actually playing other characters. And he was great. Here's another one. Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Roddy Piper, etc. all died. The 80s world WWE is dying. Well, you know, unfortunately, that's what happens. I mean, that's life. You know, it's 2025. So yeah, the legends go. But the one good thing that comes is that other legends come in to their place. There's always a transition to more stars in the sports, and all sports, not just wrestling. Like I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a big wrestling fan. I don't even know really who the stars are of today as they were back then. I was more of a wrestling fan back then. My age, I'm 62, so I can tell you that. But legends, yes, they go on, but the beauty of it is that you don't forget them, okay? Hulk Hogan will always be remembered by wrestling fans. They always remember him, just like they remember, like I said, Andre the Giant, Bruno Sammartino, and all these other greats, okay? They will be remembered, just like all the other sports. That's the beauty of it. There's video now. There's so many different archival video that exist that we can see him. We can relive some of his great matches, and they are. So here's another one. First wrestling match I ever saw was Hulk Hogan and Mark Mano. I don't know if I'm saying that right. On Saturday night main event. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm saying Mark Mano correctly. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not familiar with him. So I will. If I said his name wrong, I apologize. Again, people have memories. All these memories of all these wrestling fans are coming out, and it goes to show you. The fact that we have so many comments and so many memories about Hulk Hogan coming up shows you just the impact he had on so many people's lives and so many wrestling fans' lives. I guarantee you there are going to be a lot of other wrestlers I could throw up the names in there, and they're not going to have that same impact as a Hulk Hogan, because Hulk was a guy who just captivated people, and that's what it's all about. And that's how you become a legend. Again, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, Joe Namath. They do legendary things on the field, on the court, and they become legends both on and off. And that's so important. Just as many people know Michael Jordan today, more people know Michael Jordan today than half the NBA. More people know Wayne Gretzky today than half the NHL. More people remember Joe Namath and remember Tom Brady and those legendary stars before they can name a quarterback on most teams. That's what separates the good, great, and the legends. And there is levels. There's average players, but there's plenty. Here's another one. I wasn't expecting him to go, but then again, kept hearing about his health issues. Well, the health issues are there, and that's what happens with a lot of these guys, especially wrestlers. There's a lot of things that go with it. They take a beating of their bodies, and it creates health issues. I mean, and that's not just them. The average age of a football player for a long time was 62 years old. 62 years old. It's the constant pounding and pounding and pounding. It takes a toll. But you know what? I bet you if you asked him, on his deathbed, would you do it over? He'd say, I changed nothing. Because that's the mentality of a champion. They change nothing. And they're going to live their lives the way they wanted to. And Hulk Hogan lived his life exactly the way he wanted it. And I'm sure he has no regrets. I don't know the man personally, but I'm guessing he has no regrets.
Hey Lou, can you tell our Fox Local viewers that we're about to go off?
Okay, we're about to go off there. You don't have to hear me babbling anymore, which is, I'm sure everybody's happy. And remember, stay in, tune into Fox 5, stay on Fox Local. The midday show is starting, okay, with Bianca Peters. And Antoine will have the very latest on all the news coming up.
But for YouTube, can I get you to read the TMZ report?
I guess
one more thing.
YouTube, we're staying on. We're leaving Fox Local. We're leaving the streaming. Stay tuned. Watch Fox Local. Watch the noon show. Best show in the town. Best anchor. Best reporters. You saw Antoine. You love Antoine. You'll see more of them. Less of me. You'll be happy.
Torturing him.
What am I reading?
You got Mr. Lou. Thank you.
What am I reading? Are we still on the air? Are we still gone? We're gone now?
We're still on YouTube.
Okay, so we're on YouTube. So, what am I talking about here? Medics Dispatch. We want to read this?
Yeah, read the TMZ report.
Oh, the TMZ report. So here we go. TMZ, this is what they were learning. So we're going to see exactly what TMZ has learned. Medics was sent to his home, okay, 71-year-old. All right, his Florida home early this morning, okay. They said he was in cardiac arrest. All right, that's the key. He was in cardiac arrest. Slew police cars. They were all there. He was carried out in a stretcher into an ambulance. And then, remember now, a few weeks ago, Hulk Hogan, his wife denied any rumors that he was in a coma, okay? We don't know if that was true, but he said his heart was strong. Now, obviously, your family members, you're going to protect your loved ones, and that's how it's done. You protect your loved ones. But now a situation happens where he has a cardiac arrest. They took him to the ambulance, okay? They also talked about how Hulk Hogan and TMZ is saying how they broke the story last month, that there was rumblings about his being in his deathbed. They were told he was just dealing with symptoms of a neck procedure and underwent in May. Okay, all that could be true, all that could not be true. TMZ is reporting that this is what they were told. The truth of the matter is, let's face it, we now know that he was sick. We now know that he had problems. And guess what? Okay, Hulk Hogan, no matter how he went out as a legendary figure, and that's all that really matters. He went out as a legendary figure, and his fans today are mourning his loss, and as they should. His family is in deep mourning, and his fans are in deep mourning, and they should be, because this man was loved by many, okay? This is a man who transformed the sport of wrestling, to a level higher than it's ever been. And he, maybe personally, was the one who took it to a secondary level. Wrestling was always popular when I was a kid. It was big. But he took it to a next level, and people always remember that. And this man will be loved decades after today's passing. People will remember Hulk Hogan. That's how you know it. That's how you know legends. All right. Babe Ruth died in the 40s. He played in the 20s, and he's still considered by most the greatest baseball player who ever lived. People still say Babe Ruth. They know who he is because he becomes a legendary figure. And Hulk Hogan could be considered the same way. One thing about him is, as all guys, he played the villain at first, and people didn't, he played that whole thing, and then he became lovable, which is very similar and very, very, very popular in the wrestling world. He was a villain. We all know that. He played the villain. Everyone thought he was a loudmouth and all these things, but then fans started to gravitate to him, and then he became a champion. And that's what happens. Sometimes guys transcend, and he transcends the sport and transcends what he did. And yes, there was the dark side. Let's not forget, there was a dark side to him. As we're building him up here, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame and then was removed from the Hall of Fame after a scandal erupted about his racist comments while he was being secretly recorded during a sexual encounter. People remember that back in 2015. But Gawker, I believe it was, who posted it. So he, so as I tell you, in the ring, what a legend he was, there were problems with him. People forget these things. Okay, he had those racist comments, and he was taken out of the Hall of Fame because of that. He was secretly recorded, and he apologized. And one thing I will say, he was then in 2020 they brought him back into the Hall of Fame because you know why? He's still a bigger than life in wrestling. And wrestling understood, as bad as those things were, you cannot take away from what he did in the ring. So he was brought back a second time and inducted a second time. He went to the 2024 Republican National Convention, had the place going crazy on his antics and what he said. People loved him there. Okay? Again, politics plays a role. For everyone who's not a Republican, they may not love him. They may not love his politics. And that becomes a problem. I'm not going to say that what he did and what he said was right, because it wasn't. Okay, but again, it doesn't take away from what he was in the ring, and that's big. So he was a polarizing, both legendary and polarizing figure. A lot of people liked him. There were people who didn't like him for the things I just mentioned, his racist comments, and also his politics. And those are going to be there, and that's not going to go away. But it doesn't take away of what a powerful personality this man was, and that you cannot take away from him. Whether you like him or not, as you see from that video right there, people going around him, he just had that way about him that people gravitated to him. So there's positives, there's negatives. You know, like I said, he was in movies, let's see, 82, Rocky 3, okay? And then he was also in No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, and Mr. Nanny. So again, he transcended his popularity and his ability to entertain people into the movie world. So again, he is a guy who was larger than life. How long ago?
Thousands of people are watching right now.
Really?
Yeah.
But listen to me babble, huh? Hope I'm saying the right thing. Hope I'm saying the right
So
thing.
we have one comment, and the comment is, let me pull it up right now. Pretty obvious one. What happened to him?
What is that? What is that? What's happened? What happened to him?
Yeah, what happened to him?
Well, I think he got. I mean, if you had to read between the lines on what TMZ reported, I'm going to assume that he's been sick for a while, and they didn't want to talk about it. But 2024, he was fine. He looked great at the convention. He talked it up. But what happens to most athletes and most people, they get sick. It happens quickly. And I think I don't know what exactly happened to him in terms of his ability and things like that. But in terms of a wrestler, that's all sports. You have a timeline. At a certain point, Mother Nature catches up to you, and you can't do what people, going in there in the ring and battling and wrestling. And sometimes, those racist comments, I'm sure, had a problem and probably took him off the public stage because of that. A lot of people probably didn't want to put him in movies and TVs because of that. So I'm guessing a lot of that happened. I don't know exactly. There's another one that says, I loved he was a Republican and wanted to make America great again. Well, he's there with many. Many feel the same way. And that people, and that group of people, they gravitate to him and love him. Again, there's another group of people that don't. So, politics is very polarizing today. And that's big. It's a shame. It's polarizing. It'd be nice if everybody can just respect everybody's opinion and respect what their beliefs are and just go from there. That's the way it should be. But that doesn't the way it works in this world. So, but again, it doesn't take away from what he was as a personality in the ring and what he did. That you cannot dispute. That you cannot dispute. Hogan was my hero as a child. Had 9 Hogan toys as a kid. No surprise. I'm sure this person, whoever wrote that, probably saying something that most people in this country are saying. I loved the guy as a kid, idolized him as a kid, and had their toys. I know so many people whose kids had Hulk Hogan toys. That is not surprising to me. I bet you that's like every other household in America. Somewhere along the way, every wrestling fan had a Hulk Hogan toy. You had to, because that's what people wanted. Greatest legend ever lived. Hulkamania will never die in our hearts. Well, that's special. And that's, again, what I'm talking about. All right? Again, with all the different positives and negatives, the bottom line is that obviously just by these comments, you could tell he touched a lot of people's lives. And that's what makes legends. And what makes you a legendary personality and a legendary person is that how many lives did you touch during your career? And just by the comments we're receiving, the thousands of people who are watching right now on YouTube, and thousands of people listening to me, of all people. And again, I'll tell you, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I did know him. And that's how you know how good he was, how big he was, is not a wrestling fan, knew Hulk Hogan, knew what he was, knew the impact he made. So if he made an impact on me, could you imagine what the impact he made on most wrestling fans? Again, bigger than life, bigger than life.
Can we take a break?
Let's take a break.
All right.
All right, let's go to a break. And again, remembering the life of Hulk Hogan.
say hello.
Yeah, you're on.
Hello. We want to say hello again to all of you who are joining us on our social media platforms. Antoine Lewis back with you. In case you were with me about a half hour ago. So I had to step away so that I could bring the breaking news to our midday show, our noon show. So let me first say thank you for all of us that are staying with us, of course, as you're watching us from across the country, as well as in here in Metro New York. We're going to continue to talk about our top story right now. Breaking news into our newsroom about an hour or so ago that wrestling legend, WWE legend Hulk Hogan has passed away at the age of 71. This information coming from TMZ. TMZ Sports is reporting that a 911 call was made from the Hogan home in Clearwater, Florida, expressing some concerns about cardiac arrest, and that brought responders there. And from what TMZ is reporting, is that the wrestling legend was taken out on a stretcher, placed into an ambulance, and then TMZ again reporting about an hour or so ago that wrestling legend Hulk Hogan had passed away. Before we get into his life and legacy, what I want you to do, that you are, those of you who are watching us, is to go to the comments section and just share if you have a question or comment or something. We're going to put those up on the screen as well as we talk about this. We'll also be talking about the fact that this is the third celebrity death that we've experienced literally in 3 consecutive days this week. The other two, of course, being music legend Ozzy Osbourne, who passed away yesterday. Also, Malcolm Jamal Warner, 80s TV fixation from his role as Theo on The Cosby Show. Just the eternal boy next door Theo was. Yeah, just like we went to school, those of us who grew up, when that show was on in the 80s, he was just like the kid in class or the dude on the bus, and from all accounts, actually covered that when he passed away on Wednesday, and spoke with the producers of TMZ there on the West Coast, and from what they're saying, by all accounts, Malcolm Jamal Warner was absolutely what you saw on television in that character of Theo Huxtable. But again, wrestling legend Hulk Hogan passing away at the age of 71. And why this is so impactful is because Hulk Hogan rather elevated the sport, the entertainment, of wrestling, if you will. Let's talk with this one. Let's read this comment. Regardless of how you feel, Hulk Hogan changed it. Oh, absolutely. You bet he did. And just to talk a little bit more about that, I grew up in Southeast Virginia, so Norfolk, Virginia Beach, that's my home. We had regional legends there. It was the WWF. They were separated, if you recall that. I may be dating myself, but I grew up with Ric Flair and Greg Valentine and Blackjack Mulligan, those names. Ricky Steamboat, anybody, but those were regional, those in our area. Hulk Hogan transformed, WWE and wrestling into another level. He elevated it, the showmanship, the entertainment value. Hulkamania, became a thing. And he became a household name. I know, 3 days in a row. And everyone has a thought, when it comes to celebrity deaths. But we can't argue. Sir or ma'am, whoever left that comment, you are absolutely right. It was actually part of our discussion, today in regards to celebrity passings and how they do sometimes generally can come in consecutive threes. This is one in recent memory where it was 1, 2, and 3, so consecutively. But what we were talking about was just the impact that Hulk Hogan had. He had a television show. Remember in the early aughts, the early 2000s, where it was Hogan Family Values was on VH1. Again, transforming it. And I think he was likable, regardless of his political views, if they conflicted with yours. If we just talk about his professional career and how he made his name and his money, he transformed it, if you will, and you can challenge me, transformed wrestling into a family-friendly, environment, if you will. If you look at the kids, the, tearing of the shirt that so many wrestlers now do, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was probably the most visible face of doing that. Now, I'm not sure about the peck move, as I try it, you don't even go there, but I'm not sure if that he initiated that, but certainly the tearing of the tank top, there it is, was certainly something that will always be identified with him. If you are just joining us, again, I'm Antoine Lewis, coming to you from WNYW Fox 5 here in New York City on the Upper East Side. And this is our breaking story. We led our noon newscast with it about a half hour or so ago. What did he die from? Good question. Thank you. All of your questions and comments we appreciate. And in regards to that one, TMZ is reporting that this morning, authorities in Clearwater, Florida, received a 911 call. And from what TMZ is saying, that the call was reporting cardiac arrest, and that may be connected to this investigation. One of the other things I wanted to say is that apparently his wife, Sky Hogan, had confronted rumors about Hogan that saying that just weeks ago there were rumors that he was in a coma of some sort, but she disputed that, denied those rumors, saying that his heart was strong and he was recovering from surgeries. And again, he transformed wrestling into family entertainment, if you will. When you saw that golden blonde hair, the headband, all of that stuff, he was instantly recognizable. Even if there was no sound, if it was just a picture of him, you could point and say, oh, that's Hulk Hogan. People who didn't even follow WWE or wrestling in general like that certainly knew who he was. If you are, let's see, we have another comment. He is forever the face of wrestling. He opened the door for everyone else. Absolutely. You are absolutely correct. It's certainly one of the ones that was a household name, if you will, and transitioning from not just WWE and wrestling, but television, reality shows. He did some acting, cameos on movies and on other television shows of the day. So a larger than life personality, which is certainly something that I would imagine, hope to have, in a sport where there are so many trying and competing and hoping and trying to amp up their game to get to that point, where you are a Hulk Hogan, or if you know a Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, just some of those ones. I think when Hogan came on the scene, with WWE, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, viewer, Junkyard Dog, was one of the ones that was also, when the WWE was formed, it was just one of those names. But Hulk Hogan just took it to another level. Again, we welcome your comments, any questions that you may have. Controversy arose in 2015 when audio recordings surfaced, reportedly featuring Terry Bollea, known professionally as Hulk Hogan, making racist remarks and using a racial slur. Absolutely. We remember that. And no, he was not without controversy, particularly when you choose this particular career path, and using that, So, yep, that is absolutely a part of his history. It's certainly something that we'll be mentioning, when you talk about the person, because with most careers, there can be, instances and controversial moments, in that, to whatever the controversy was. So absolutely, that is a part of the thread, of his life. And once again, you'll hear me say this often, if you have a question, if you have a comment, go directly to that section there where you are encouraged to do so. Share with me your thoughts if you have a recollection on it. And again, I'm going to transition because yesterday we were reporting on the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. Certainly the Prince of Darkness. I know, I'm sorry to have to break that to you, but yeah, he's passed away according to TMZ. Still working to get more information, but this news coming into our newsroom sometime around 11:30 that a 911 call had been made from the Hogan residence in Clearwater, Florida, that was there. But again, yesterday it was Ozzy Osbourne, that passed away. Different kind of legend, different industry, different type of impact, just what he did and what he made. And from all of the reports that I've seen and that I read yesterday, those who knew him just said that Prince of Darkness persona was just something that was part of his work life and certainly not, who he was in real life. Whether you watched the show that they had on MTV, the Osbournes, which certainly broke new ground as far as reality television goes, because it was all a new formula, if you will, for the programming broadcasting industry, with reality television happening and taking place. So certainly, that was certainly an impact that's going on. If you're new to this format, what we do with Newsroom Live every day at 11:30 is that we try to connect and engage with you in the behind the scenes capacity, if you will, a little less laid back, a little bit less together, if you will. It's very informal, very engaging. Just to blow my own self up just for a minute, if you've been with us since 11:30, I wasn't dressed like this, and Lou and I were talking about news and reacting. At Lou Albanese, our sports producer, who was just here, I had to step away to go get in place for our noon show because I was covering the breaking news of Hulk Hogan. So before this, I had on, just the jacket and, a T-shirt because that's the capacity that, we generally try to go for here. But I had to change really quickly, to get in place for the noon. So just to show you how this works, and Alex, my producer, is this the remote for the camera?
No,
Or
it's not.
I think it's all right there by
There
you.
we go.
Okay, so hang on. Like I said, all right, let's go down. Let me step back out. I may have to do it, but my shirt isn't even tucked in. This is what I had on. But of course, when we're on camera, all you're going to see is this part because I didn't have any time to go and get it. It literally was step here, step there, go. So again, it's in this capacity. And yep, this shirt is just back. Here's the tag from the dry cleaner, Jim Lee, across the street, Jim Lee Cleaners there. But this is the capacity in which we try to come to you in this laid back, there's more engagement. And it's certainly something that we and all of our Fox stations look forward to because all of the stations across the country are also engaged in formats like this. So once again, our top story, breaking news into our newsroom about an hour or so ago, is the passing of Hulk Hogan, wrestling legend, 71 years old. TMZ reporting the news first, as we understand it. The AP and Reuters, everyone else is now picking up on it. The man broke new ground. The man set bars so high that are still, they're still in place for others to try to get to. And did I bring the camera back up like it was supposed to, or did I leave it down? Hit the thing that it didn't work, did it? Right? Okay. Have to step back a little bit more. The voice that you're hearing is Alex Meyer. She's my producer. She's off to the right, making sure she's the one punching the video up and making sure that we know, like, hey, we just got this. If there's a new update that's going on. If you're wondering about some of the other stories that we're covering, in addition to this, a police officer, in Long Island, Suffolk County, is recovering from injuries, responding to a murder, and a body was found. I believe now it's turned into a death investigation this morning, and the officers were fired upon, and a 33-year-old officer was hit. From what authorities are saying, he received an injury to his face. He has since undergone surgery to have the bullet removed, and the tone from the news conference that we watched right here on Newsroom Live was that he is going to recover. Absolutely good news there, because those are law enforcement, our police officers, respond and go into situations where they don't always know what they are going to encounter. They are a special, unique brand of persons. I'm doing what I do because I just couldn't do that, so we're certainly making sure that we're keeping the police department, the officer who's 33 years old, who's been on the force about 3 years, I think the officials say, making sure that we are keeping them in our thoughts, as this officer continues to recover. That's the other thing we're talking about, as well as the heat. There's a heat advisory going on, which means take this serious. Do not play with the heat. Make sure you're staying hydrated. There's actually a heat warning. It was a watch, but it's now evolved into a heat warning. Here in the New York metro area, we know that we're going to get up to at least 96 today. And with the humidity, it's going to feel even hotter than that. So we want to make sure that you, wherever you are, particularly if you're here in the metro area, Metro New York or the tri-state, that you are absolutely staying hydrated. If you're stepping out, use the sunblock. You have to protect yourself. wear a hat if you need to, but yeah, just take this very seriously. It's a whole lot more than just walking out and going about your day. It was very easy to take on the complications of heat stroke or some other sort of heat-related injury. Take that serious, if you will. But again, a comment or a thought on that passing. We also thank everyone else about the other one, because the third passing, which I'll get to in just a moment, was of course on Tuesday, the passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner at the age of 54 by accidental drowning while he was in the Limon province of Costa Rica. Certainly, if you grew up in the 80s and watched The Cosby Show, you knew Theo. You know,
In
you,
the 80s.
yeah,
It was on Nick at Night.
Nick
so
at Night.
all of us
Oh yeah,
millennials watched it
yeah.
too.
Millennials also got it. Thank you for dating me, Alex.
Letting you know.
She's giving a shout out to the millennials, the generation after me. But no, the Cosby Show was on Nick at Night, you know. But we're talking about Theo, not so much about Bill Cosby, you know, like that. But we cannot talk about that show and the impact that it had during its run and post-run and reruns, you know. But specifically, Malcolm Jamal Warner's character of Theo, just the boy next door, you know, he was cool, he was all right, you know, and just for, you know, young black kids, you know, particularly young black boys like me that were growing up, you just, you know, looked at it and you were just glad that he looked like somebody that you saw on the bus in the class, you know. Those images were still evolving, that imagery was still, that representation was still evolving to where it stands now. That comment just in about Hulkamania, Alex,
Oh,
can you
yeah,
put that one
I
back
just
up?
thought that was
Yeah,
funny.
no, it is. I certainly want to address that because we've been thanking everybody for making comments or questions. All the Hulkamaniacs across the galaxy are drinking their protein mix and saying prayers, R.I.P. Yep, absolutely. Regardless of how he got those pecs and those guns, I don't know, you know, but certainly he inspired a generation. He entertained a multitude of people and fans, and regardless of how many people you see in the tank top, that they rip it, you know, just to expose. It's just part of the theatrics, you know, the bravura, you know, that accompanies, you know, WWE and wrestling in general. He absolutely was the face, you know, of that. Anybody else with a comment so far? What are we saying? 71 is not young. Well, that's subject to opinion. Thank you for that comment. You know, certainly, you know, yeah, that's how old he was, you know, but, you know, you may hear, you know, how it's looked at, you know, some people may say the person was 71 years young, you know, as opposed to 71 years old, you know, but yeah, certainly subject to opinion, you know, and that. R.I.P. Theo. I grew up on that show, and I am 42. Watched the reruns in TV land,
Yeah.
Alex.
Nick at
You
Night
know.
for me, but
Yep,
reruns are
absolutely.
everywhere.
But no, yeah, this has just been one of those weeks. You know, again, if you're just tuning in, you know, we're talking about the passing of Hulk Hogan and how this is the third celebrity death, literally consecutively this week. Yesterday being Ozzy Osbourne, music rock legend, heavy metal legend. And before that, Malcolm Jamal Warner passing away in Costa Rica. He was with his family, wife and daughter. They were on a family vacation, as we understand it, and he accidentally drowned in the waters there. In regards to Hulk Hogan, again, this information breaking sometime around 11:30, a little more than an hour ago, that a 911 call originated from the Hogan home in Clearwater, Florida, reporting some sort of cardiac arrest. This information, again, coming from TMZ, and that emergency responders went to the house. They took Mr. Hogan out on a stretcher, put him into an ambulance, and then the news coming sometime later that Hulk Hogan had passed away. Tell me your thoughts on WWE in general. I don't know if you are old enough to remember, you know, there used to be two, you know, the WWF, you know, was a separate one. There's always been discussions. Have another one. Let's see. I remember seeing Hogan for the first time in 2001 in Calgary. If it wasn't for Hogan, I would never have feel I live with pro wrestling as much as I have and did. Yeah, he absolutely was an ambassador for something that clearly he loved, clearly he entertained. That energy was always there. And just, again, others came, others went. There were some before. But as far as elevating wrestling to a household name, to a superstar recognition, challenge me if you want, but I absolutely believe that Hulk Hogan was the one that did that. I would challenge my mom. Certainly didn't watch, wrestling, WWE like that. But if you would have put up a picture of Hulk Hogan, just because of his brand, which that wasn't even what they called it back then, but just him just being himself, doing what he loved, most people, like my mom, will probably recognize them and look like, oh, if she didn't know Hulk Hogan specifically, she could probably say, oh, isn't that the wrestler, the one on television? So this man was absolutely that impactful, as far as, a cultural icon, and having transitioned from just, the WWE and its fans, but certainly being an ambassador, a brand ambassador for that. My childhood superhero was the character Hulk Hogan. Hulkamania will continue to run wild, brother. You better will, It's just always neat in regards to whomever it is. When you see someone doing what they love, and having fun and just engaging, with their fans like that. You see him there at a book signing, the book over his shoulders, how can you not appreciate, just that? Again, was he without controversy? Certainly not. Most celebrities are not, whether it's political views, whether it was one comment mentioned that, about 10 years or so ago, he was embroiled, having been, caught using, a racial slur or something. Yep, absolutely. With celebrity can come controversy, and that's certainly part of the thread, of his life. But at this particular point, there's no denying, his impact on the profession. There's no impact on what he did as an ambassador, for the sport, and just how, he became, a legend and set a bar so high, that so many others are still body slamming and, jumping off into the ring, diving in, still, I don't even know, do they still do the Russian sickle? I'm really dating myself with that one. This one, now you're going to get to me. Hug your family tight, y'all. You never know when it's your turn to go home. Stay blessed. That absolutely is a comment that we want to say thank you for. It's certainly very true, with that. And please keep those comments coming. Please keep your thoughts on that. Anything else you've heard us talk about, we got comments regarding, Ozzy Osbourne's passing, as well as that of Malcolm Jamal Warner. One person mentioned, stating the obvious that these celebrity passings tend to come in threes. Certainly this week proved that. And as far as I'm concerned, 3 is enough, for this week. Your thoughts, your hearts, go out to the family members, the loved ones that are involved first and foremost. But then, of course, you have to talk about the fans, certainly the impact, some of the comments that we've made, shared with you. Huck will always be a legend for the joy he brought to millions of homes, people, and kids he entertained early on in his wrestling career. Yes, he did. Absolutely, he did. And if you have a comment or thought, on Mr. Hogan, on Mr. Osborne, or Mr. Warner, certainly put that in there. We can talk about that for just a moment. And we're nearing the end of our time with you. So as I say goodbye, you know what? Why don't we leave it with the comment that our watcher, our viewer, put up about, loving your family and making sure that you communicate that to them, because, our time here is, of course, short. All right, I won't get too philosophical on you. I can't thank you enough for being with us, because we started out at 11:30 in one direction. And literally, this news came in, and for those of you who, if you've been watching it, that you saw in real time, us responding behind the scenes, trying to engage with you live and bring you information. And then, this happens, and then having to run over there to get in place, for our new newscast. You can count on us every day at 11:30 to engage with you here, and also on our news block at 3 o'clock. Our Fox stations also have midday shows, 5, 6, and 10, and of course our Good Day in whatever city that you are in. We say goodbye to you now. Alex and I, she's off to, Alex, come wave. Everyone can see you. You tell everybody how old I am as opposed to you and your Nick at Night watching, like that. But our hearts are with you. Stay tuned to us at 3 again. We'll be back on the news block. And then, of course, our evening shows begin at 5. Have a great day. Drink water. We're on a heat warning, and you stay safe.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, I could even look up.
You don't mind me there?
I haven't seen you since, because grandbaby one was born on the fourth.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I don't care. I can do it, you know. Just as long as I have one, so. Yeah. Well, and then we got also.
Was it easy for her?
That's good. You know, the rumors.
Yeah. Exactly.
You do, Justin. Anything you need, you just tell me.
So when was Jacksboro? No, the 18th. Yeah, because, the, blanking on his name, the other baby was born July 4th. So, his kid is tell him I'm ready to babysit whenever they're. I have no plans of having them, but.
She's a brown. No, most, you know, we send her away.
My mom is always asking when we're gonna have kids. Well, complaining that they get something that they can have because she's tired of them.
What she wants you to.
She wants the 2 states away. Hi, how are you? Not the right one.
What's up, bro? How are you, sir?
Robin, all that.
Your ducks.
I know. Falling right now. Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like,
Like a grandfather.
Yes, and so we got him a screen. Yes, yeah. Yes.
Hey, GBU 2 is not new workers. Mic check, testing 1, 2. Wow, this name only has 2 cars. All right. Back here. Okay, cool. Yes.
Yeah. Because I'm surprised it's just like this.
Yes. Me too, and that's why I got here early, because you know how parking is here.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
Go down there, the front that we do down there.
Oh, you know.
There.
Robert.
No, I was just keeping an eye on, are you expecting this on behalf of you?
Is anybody not here that you know of, or we have everybody?
TMZ.
Tell them maybe?
What's that?
Somebody tell them.
Elizabeth's here.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so then we're good, everybody's here?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, Bama, okay. I think Bama's better than FSU as a Gator fan. No, FSU.
Yeah, it's not bad, it's like the.
Oh, is it?
Figured out.
I mean,
That's what you mean?
he screwed it. Exactly. You can.
We need to give you the, that whole password file. But did you get the consent law?
So when I take that here.
Hey, getting ready to go to the actual buzzer. He doesn't have to go live on Facebook. Set up on MacBook Pro.
Like there's no,
Right, yeah.
it's basically attributed, since you don't know what it is.
It's shorter, it's a little shorter, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm listening. Thank you, got it. Thank you. So hilarious.
Is that like the regular?
I know, we were talking about all that. Right. We don't do it all. Well, right.
I think so. So, this says 505.
You and Tim got
Yeah, I was
We'll have a vote on.
when the, yeah, I went. Yeah, that's easy. It was like the craziest. Well, the other quad people were, yeah, he was a, we were initiated. Still a thing. I think Chris was leaving it up. Yeah, no, it was.
My name's Nate Burnside. I'm a major with the Clearwater Police Department. The correct spelling of my first name is Nate. Last name is Burnside. I'm up here with Interim Deputy Chief John Klonfelter from the Clearwater Fire and Rescue. Just before 10 a.m. today, Clearwater Fire and Rescue, along with the Clearwater Police Department, responded to a house in the 1000 block of El Dorado Avenue for a medical-related call. It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue. Personnel provided medical treatment at that time and transported Mr. Bollea to Morton Plant Hospital, where he died at 11:17 a.m. The Clearwater Police Department is conducting a death investigation, which is standard in these types of cases. There are no signs of foul play or suspicious activity related to this call for service at this time. Our personnel is providing the family with the necessary resources. I'm strongly encouraging everyone to keep the family in their thoughts and respect their privacy during this difficult time. We will not be answering any questions, but we will provide additional information when it becomes available. Any public records request should be filed through our public records section with the Clearwater Police Department. No records will be released today. Our thoughts are with the family, and again, we ask everyone to respect their privacy during this difficult time. Thank you.